We all know of Angron's hate for the Emperor after what he did on Angron's Homeworld of Nuceria. With the break of the Horus Heresy, Angron was one of the first primarchs to join Horus's cause to finally get his revenge on the Emperor. While first chaplain Erebus and the Dark Apostle Corpheron of the Word Bearers led the assault on the Ultramarines in the Battle of Qarth, Angron's World Eaters Legion joined Loga and the rest of the Word Bearers in a joint shadow crusade into the rest of the realm of Ultramar. During this campaign, Loga realized that Angron was becoming more mentally unstable and the butcher's nails were killing him faster than anyone realized. The implants had never been designed for the peculiar genetics of a primarch's brain. Angron's physiology was constantly trying to heal the damage produced by the implants as the nails bit deeper. Trying to save his life, Loga convinced Angron to go back to his home world of Nuceria, where he received the implants in the first place, for they must understand how they function better than anyone. Once on Nuceria, Angron headed straight for the Desh'elika ridge and paid his respects to his fallen brothers and sisters of the Nucerian gladiators, and from their bodies he hung a bandolier of skulls on his chest to honor their memory, then made for the city-state of Desh'elika that had once claimed to own him. He became enraged when he was told the version of his disappearance told by the Nucerian slave masters. It was explained that he had fled in fear from the Battle of Desh'elika Ridge and the subsequent massacre of the rebel army in the mountains. The rebels had died to a man in his absence. To hell with the butcher's nails. Angron ordered his legion to kill everyone in the city, then they were to kill everyone on the planet. Robert Guilliman's Ultramarine Retribution fleet had been tracking the rest of the Word Bearers Legion in the wake of the Battle of Qarth. The 13th Legion's warship, Courage Above All, Guilliman's temporary flagship, broke warp at the system's edge, at the head of a large void armada consisting of 41 vessels. Guilliman guided the battle from the command deck of Courage Above All, and had decided that the Fidelitas Lex, Loga's flagship, would be destroyed first, while the Conqueror, Angrons, would be boarded and killed from within. Several Ultramarines warships attempted to land drop pods on the surface of Nuceria, but the commander of the Conqueror, Lotara Saren, put up a difficult fight and destroyed a number of Ultramarines vessels that attempted to make a run for the surface. The Ultramarines' incendiary rage turned the Fidelitas Lex into a ruin, its armor pitted and cracked, its shields a memory. Despite all of this, the Lex lashed back with its remaining macro cannons, rolling in the light of its own burning hull. With the legionnaires of the Word Bearers already on the surface, the ship's human population fled in the vessel's final minutes as it cut through the clouds into the planet's atmosphere, shuddering on its way east, rolling ever downwards, and finally colliding with the Nucerian ocean's surface. The Ultramarines' battle barge armsmen intercepted the Conqueror and came abeam, boarding the World Eater's flagship, and while its crew was busy repelling boarders, a number of smaller 13th Legion vessels slipped past her defenses and launched drop pods, gunships, and troop carriers. The first drop pods hammered home on the planet's surface, and the Ultramarines poured forth, bolters raised, moving in perfect and well-trained unity. Those of the World Eaters not lost to the rage of the butcher's nails noted that these Ultramarines were not the pristine cobalt blue warriors they had previously forced on Armatura. These were hardened veterans of the Battle of Qarth. They burned with a cold intensity to carry out the vengeance in their hearts, and were intent on getting to grips with the Word Bearers and their traitor allies. The Ultramarines established footholds at defensible positions, clearing room for their reinforcements to land. For every position they held, another was overrun by the World Eaters in a storm of roaring axes or lost to the Word Bearers chanting implacable advance. The 12th Legion crashed against the 13th in rapid packs, showing why Imperial forces had feared to fight alongside them for decades. In the meantime, Primarch of the 13th had finally found the object of his obsession. Guilliman confronted Loga, and there was no furious trading of frenetic blows or melodramatic speeches of vengeance and shit. The two Primarchs came together once, power fists against War Maul, and backed away from the resulting flare of rebelling energy fields. Their warriors killed each other around them, and neither Primarch spared the Gene Sons a glance. Loga flicked the clinging lightning from the head of his Crozius, shaking his head in slow denial. In his righteous anger, the Ultramarines Primarch struck Loga with one of his fists, battering the Ward Bearer's Primarch's sternum. Loga repulsed him with a projected burst of telekinesis, weak and wavering, but enough to send his brother staggering. The Crozius followed, its power field trailing lightning as Loga hammered it into the side of Guilliman's head with the force of a cannonball. Suddenly Angron burst forth from the Ultramarines' ranks, his armor a shattered wreck. On his chest hung the bandolier of skulls taken from the mass grave at Desh'elika Ridge. Blood painted them as surely as it marked Angron, and that pleased him, for he wanted his deceased brothers and sisters to taste blood once more. He had carried them with him across Nuceria, letting their empty eyes witness the razing of his former hated homeworld. The World Eater launched himself at Guilliman with murderous hatred. Guilliman found himself forced back by the storm of Angron's blows. As the two Primarchs fought, Guilliman landed a glancing blow, his fist bounding across Angron's breastplate. One of the skulls of Angron's fallen fellow gladiators was scattered across the ground. Guilliman stepped back, his boot crushing the skull to powder. Angron saw the desecration and threw himself at his brother, his howl of wrath defying mortal origins, impossibly ripe in its anguish. Loga saw it too. The moment Guilliman's boot broke the skull, he felt the warp boil behind the veil. The bearer of the ward started chanting in a language never before spoken by any living being. Loga enacted his dark plan to save his brother's life, summoning the rune storm to the world of Nuceria, tearing the sky open and unleashing a crimson torrent, formed from the ghosts of 100 murdered worlds, raining blood down upon the battlefield. Loga focused his concentration on his mutilated brother, calling for the Neverborn. Angron's body started tearing itself apart, growing, rising, perfecting after a lifetime of broken torture. This was the moment of Angron's apotheosis into demonhood. The World Eater's librarians, who had never received the Butcher's nails implants, which were inimical to psychers, sensed the fey powers summoned by Loga from the warp. In an attempt to halt the Unizen's dark plans, the 19 remaining librarians harnessed the collective psychic powers to manifest a psychic entity known as the Communion. In the midst of Loga's incantations, the Communion pulled the soul of the Primarch from his body. The two psychic entities confronted one another within the warp, each convinced that they were the one responsible for saving Angron, but ultimately the Communion failed, for Loga was just as powerful in the warp as he was in the material universe. After Angron's completed metamorphosis, a gravely wounded Rupert Guilliman escaped from Nuceria, unable to face or even fully comprehend what both of his brothers had become through their corruption by the ruinous powers. The World Eaters completed the purge of Nuceria until not one human life remained on the world. Angron, now the very embodiment of the Blood God's eightfold path, shook the dust of the world from his feet and did not think of it again. Once back aboard his flagship the Conqueror, Angron spoke his first words in his new form. He ordered Khan to massacre the slaves in the lower halls and build him a massive skull throne. To enhance the combat prowess of his new form, Angron was given a massive black rune sword called the Black Blade that had been forged for him by the Dark Mechanicum. Alright guys, thanks a lot for watching. If you made it this far, then surely you will enjoy this video explaining how Rogal Dawn and the Imperial Fists were ambushed by Batrabo's Iron Warriors in the Iron Cage. So don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell to stay tuned for more.